In the last years, I tried to implement a overall goal system for my life in mostly two ways. The first one was to create habits. I track these habits in an app called Loop Habit on my phone. This is not a good solution because it's not cloud-based, so I cannot just track them on my computer. Nonetheless, I now have hundreds of habits which are also to a certain extent goals. So why not only have goals? Because I think the goal is not something that I can keep in mind all the time. The goal is something that I make up as System 2, but System 1 is not really aligned for this. So what I need to do is I need to implement these goals in daily habits. Why daily? Because the day is the unit that repeats itself ever and again. So the first system I have now is basically this habit system, but I am falling out of use mostly because I cannot even search in this app. So the app is actually not quite well built out, I would say. It doesn't even have a search function. I cannot basically have different filters and stuff like this. I tried using Notion as a replacement, but it then lacked all the features that the habit tracker already had, which was to calculate a execution score and stuff like this. So therefore, I also have a kind of second approach. So apart from having systems ideally implemented, which then automatically track all these goals, like having a watch, which automatically calculates or updates my Garmin VO2 Max running estimate, which is kind of the standardized marker for cardiovascular health, and thus, to a certain extent, can be linked to life expectancy. What I kind of have made up for myself in terms of a rule is that every additional milliliter is about 2 months of additional life expectancy. Apart from the fact that it might also raise my ceiling. It's not a fact, but it's a thesis. So the idea is the following. If I have higher cardiovascular ability, then if something takes me out like sickness, then the sickness occurs like this relative to the baseline. But if my baseline is higher, then even at sickness, I'm at a higher absolute level. So now the second system is basically an Excel spreadsheet. I have different categories, or I see my life in different categories, and I have a master spreadsheet called system in which then the others feed in. And I try to focus on things that ideally are optimized by maximizing, which means, for example, I track my knowledge acquisition, at least to a certain extent, by how many books I've read. I do also have a couple of criteria on which books make it into the list. Essentially all books make it into the list, but I don't read fiction, and I only try to listen to things that are fact books mostly. So therefore, every book I read additionally is kind of a plus. So having metrics that are optimized by maximizing means that I have a very easy function, which is the maximization function. I then try to find metrics for the different things I try to achieve, and then I have this Excel spreadsheet which I mostly manually track these things.